Hi everyone, welcome again to another podcast from Teacher Joseph. Well, I've had this great idea, and it's something we're going to be doing in the future, and we're going to start today. And that is to take a book from my bookshelf that you can see behind me here and start to read some random paragraphs in order to improve your English. Now, I know in my weekly lesson you've been looking at things which I've written, but I'd also like to explore some books and magazines so you can hear some new vocabulary. Now, news reports are really good, but, well, they're a bit boring sometimes. And these days, the news is all about war, death, violence, politics. So, to take some of the books from my bookshelf will be a really nice thing to do, and it will help you to learn in a slightly different way. So today we're going to start with just some random bits of a book that I have here in front of me. And it's about the artist William Blake. William Blake. There we are. Now, William Blake, in case some of you don't know, is a very famous artist here in the UK. He died many, many years ago, and he's also a very famous poet. This book was written by someone called Vaughan. What's his second name? Oh, William Vaughan. His name is William Vaughan. Yeah. So we're going to be looking at the text from the first page of the introduction of this book by William Vaughan. Okay, so I'm just going to take the first paragraph and I'm going to read it. Now, if you're studying this podcast or this video clip for the purposes of improving your accent, keep an eye on my mouth. Okay, you'll see it on YouTube, and make sure that you're just pulling your mouth down. Okay, now let's see. It says here, it is 150 years since William Blake died, and yet he is still a controversial figure. For this English poet and artist is so extreme in his assertions, so inspired, and yet so naive in his art. Okay, so we've got a few words there to work with already. First of all, he's controversial, which means that not everybody agrees that he is particularly good. It says here he's extreme in his assertions. So when we try to say something or make an opinion, it's an assertion. If you look at reported speech, for example, I assert that, or the author is asserting. He's trying to prove, give his opinion about a particular thing. To assert. It's a really nice formal word. We use it informally as well. Maybe you know someone who's also trying to assert bad information or bad ideas. So it says here that this guy, William Blake, is extreme in his assertions. And to be honest with you, yeah, I would agree with that. It's a little bit dark. His theme is a little bit dark. But it also says he's so inspired, it means he has a lot of inspiration, and yet so naive, kind of innocent. Now, I think we all know people like that. We call them crazy. People who are very strong in their opinions, but somehow a little bit innocent, you know? Some creative people that I've met in my life are like that. It says here, he cuts across all conventional means. Yeah. So if you cut across something, it means you cover. Yeah. So if you're preparing a project and you're covering all the angles and you've got a lot in there, You're cutting across a lot. It is true that his emergence is less of a mystery to us than it was in earlier generations. So to emerge is to come up, to come up. If you emerge, you're coming up out of something. Butterflies emerge from caterpillars. Good English emerges from studying a lot, to emerge. So it's saying here that his emergence, his coming up, is something which is very, very understood by us, but not by the previous generations. I think they just thought he was a little bit weird. So let's just explore those words we've done so far, because they're quite interesting, aren't they? So, number one, he's controversial. Not everyone agrees about him. It says here he's extreme in his assertions. We spoke about that a minute ago, and that just means that he is trying to assert something, trying to say his opinion, but in some kind of extreme way. So when he paints a nice picture, it might be very, very clear and strong for our personal affections. Okay, so he's inspired as well, and yet he's also a little bit naive, a little bit innocent. So these are great ways of describing people. I like my friend John, but he's a bit extreme in his assertions. He's a bit strong with his ideas. It's the same kind of thing. Okay. He cuts across all conventional means. That just means he basically covers a lot. This podcast right now is cutting across a lot of different words. Okay. Cutting across can also mean taking a shortcut. Yeah, he cuts across things quite quickly. It means that he doesn't go into depth. But it's also quite positive here. He's cutting across. And that's probably enough words for today, because we have a lot of things in there. But I tell you, William Blake is very good. I'll need to cover up the little bit of the picture before I get banned by YouTube, because this is a picture of a person here on the front. It's just a piece of art, but I think some people might find this inappropriate. But William Blake is an incredible guy. And looking through this book, there's loads of art. I've been through a few art exhibitions of his, and they're very good. By the way, in case you want to know more about William Blake, he was born in London on the 28th of November, 1757. And if you've ever walked around central London, particularly I think around Soho, on the West End of London anyway, you might stumble across a little nameplate or a plaque on the wall that says William Blake was born on this site. Nobody knows where his grave is. They think it's in Southwark Cathedral in London. It's an English cathedral, but they're not sure where exactly it is. So it says here, he was born in London on 28th of November, 1757. Throughout his 70 years of life, he was poor, and with the exception of 3 years in the country, between 1800 and 1803, he never moved away from his native city. That's where he was born, London. It says here, his art was not discouraged by his family. They liked it. And in fact, they used it. And it goes on to say here that he got into engraving. That's when you take something metal and you write, you carve some names into it. That's to engrave. Maybe someone's given you a ring before and it has an engraving on the inside. Let me try to demonstrate my point. Okay, so I have my wedding ring here. And there's engraving on the inside. It's too small to show you, but they've engraved a date. And also, if you look at a coin, this is, oh, it's a euro. Didn't know I still had those. You can see there's engraving in the coin. To engrave. I don't know which country that is. Is that France? Is it with the thing on the front? It looks like a bird. It doesn't say what country this is. I always get confused because each country has its own thing. It looks like a large bird. I don't know. It could be France. They do birds, don't they? No idea. But anyway, maybe somebody can tell me. I'll show it to you there. It's a bird with wings, I think. So there's engraving around the edges of the coin as well. And in the center, they've engraved a picture. It's a nice word, isn't it? €2. I need to remember to take that with me next time I go to Europe, which is soon. Yeah, got a holiday planned for Spain. Right. It says here, as well as this, it gave him that knowledge of engraving, okay, which was to be put to good use when he was evolving and changing and learning about printing for his books in the late 1780s. Oh, wow. Things haven't changed that much, have they? We're still trying to evolve and change and find our way. It's freezing here today. I'm really cold. I put this shirt on, and to look all smart to do this video clip, but under it, I've actually got 1, 2, 3 jumpers. I'm freezing. Oh. Anyway, wow. I think we've probably covered enough words for today. So let's just go over a few of them, okay? So we said that he is extreme in his assertions, strong in his ideas. We said he's controversial, quite a strong figure. He's inspired, he's lots of inspiration, and yet he's also quite naive. And his emergence, his coming up, his appearing, we know a lot more about that than previous generations. Okay, I'm going to do these random things, okay, in future podcasts. I'm not just going to be focusing on this book by William Blake, okay? I'm going to try to take various books from around my apartment. Some of them are heavy theological books because, as you know, I've studied theology. I love theology. But I do have a lot of easier books as well. So we'll just delve into some of those in the coming days. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. This will be more of a shaping of a future podcast. The random books thing, I think, will be very good. It'll expose you to some new things. Our weekly lesson might go into some of this kind of stuff a little bit deeper. And that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and let's talk soon. See ya. Bye-bye.